Okay, now we're ready to do the assembly for the parts that we have created for the cabinet that we have just finished. Before doing so, I'm just want to quickly review the lab manual associated with the lab 2B. In the assembly, you really basically will be combining the parts to create the final product. And there are a number of concepts that are introduced in this one. Is basically standard mates. It's the geometric constraints that you will place between different entities or different features on the individual components in this lab exercise. The steps are basically very simple. The first part that you're going to bring in the assembly will be this cabinet shell. Then you will bring in one of the hinge part, and then you will add some constraints, which is basic relationship between certain features. For example, these two holes will be lined up with these two holes, and this surface will be coincident with this surface, and that would be the end result. And then you will bring in the second hinge part, and then you will apply some constraints there. For example, the whole of this these hinge parts, they will be concentric, and the some of the surfaces, they will be coincident with each other, which are shown in the zoomed in position in your lab manual. And after that, you will bring in the hinge pin, and then you will make it concentric relationship between the hole and the pin itself. And also you will make the surface coincident. And then finally, you will add those pins, and you will use again coincident and concentric constraints. And then you will add in, after adding the 4 hinges along with those pins, you will add in the 2 doors, and your final product basically will be like that. So let's begin. I'm going to start with the SolidWorks. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to open a new document, and I'm going to click on this assembly, and I'm going to click OK. I'm just going to let it load, and this has loaded. It's automatically will show some of the parts in my working directory or working folder. So I could basically browse the part itself. So I'm going to that folder where I have saved all my files, and I'm gonna bring in cabinet shell first by double clicking on it, and I can just drag it around wherever I want to drop it. I'm just gonna drop it right there. As you can see, the whole component is in there. This F basically means the cabinet shell is fixed, which can be changed by default. The first component that you bring in the assembly environment, it will be fixed. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the units to mmgs as it's required by the lab manual. And the next step is I'm gonna save this file as, again, same convention. I'm gonna use the same folder, your student ID, that will be your unique student ID, and lab 2, and I'm gonna say name this one as cabinet assembly. And I'm clicking save. So now I have saved in, and now I'm gonna bring into the other component, which is the hinge part. How do you insert new component? You could go to this tab, assembly tab. There is insert component available there, or you can go to insert component. You could access from there as well. Anyway, so I'm gonna click on insert components, and I'm just gonna pull out from there. I'm gonna browse so that I can show you a couple more times. And now I'm gonna bring in, let's say, hinge A, and I'm gonna drop it, there. And now I'm gonna bring in another component because I'm gonna do this one slightly different than the lab manual. So I'm gonna insert another component, and I'm gonna browse, and I'm gonna grab this hinge B. My naming for these parts is slightly different than the lab manual as well. So um, what matters is you bring in the right component. Now I can rotate these items. If I wanted to move individual components, I can move them, rotate them by going to this tool under the assembly tab. I can basically rotate, move components from there. I'm gonna slightly move this component. Any component that's selected will move, and I'm gonna zoom in there. So I am closer to there so I can view it a little better. And now I could change, um, I'm gonna rotate this one so that I can align my hinge better. So now I am in a position where I can start making the mates or adding the relationship. What I want to do is I want to align these holes, these two holes. I want to make them concentric to with these two holes. So how you do that? It is done by using this mating tool, which basically positions two components relative to one another. So I'm gonna click on that, and there's a number of type of mates are available in SolidWorks. There are some advanced mates too, which we will cover as we move along these lab exercises. Right now, I'm gonna basically click on the stay with the standard mates. I'm gonna minimize that so I can see it better. So what I want to do is I'm going to select this cylindrical face in there, and I'm going to zoom out, and I'm going to zoom in, and I'm going to select this face. And all I want to do is it's automatically predicting that I want to add concentric mate. That's exactly what I want to do. I'm going to click OK to that. And my part has kind of disappeared, so I'm just gonna drag it out. So as you can see, now I can rotate around. These two holes are concentric. Now I'm gonna add the second mate here by clicking on this internal face, and I'm gonna select this face, and I'm gonna add concentric relationship to. You could also do it with the edges, but I like to do it with the face faces a bit. It's your choice. As long as your assembly looks good, it's fine. The next mate I'm going to do is I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to make them coincident. So basically now this is attached, and I'm going to click OK. So this part is done. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out a bit, and I'm going to get out of this menu, and I'm going to drag, and I want to bring this component close to where I want to be, and I'm gonna rotate this one like that. Okay, and now I want to add a relationship between these hinge part with this hinge part. So the relationship is very simple. I want to make this cylindrical face concentric with this one, and I want to add a coincident relationship between this face and the face on this side. So let's just do with this one. So I'm gonna go to mate. I'm gonna click on the mate icon, and I'm gonna select this face, and I am going to select this face, and again I'm gonna make them concentric. If my objects were not aligned up the way I want, I can always go and align them. And I'm going to click OK. And now I can rotate this one around. So I'm just going to move it out a bit so I can add the next mating relationship. The next mating relationship, I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to rotate my entire model, and I am going to select this face, and I'm going to make them coincident. So I'm going to click OK. And now if I rotate my component, this one rotates around that, and I am good with that. Now if I look at my feature manager, this part is fully defined, it's fixed, it's not showing, but in this one, because it's attached to the fixed object and it's completely locked, so it won't be moving. And this part, it has a minus sign there. It shows basically this part can move. Not all the degrees of freedom associated with this component are fixed. Now, what I could do next one is I'm gonna bring in the hinge pin now, and basically I'm gonna bring in by clicking on insert component, and I'm gonna select it from I'm gonna go browse, and I'm gonna look for the hinge pin. This is the part that I want to bring it in, and I'm gonna basically bring in and drop it in there. And after I have done that, now I'm gonna add concentric relationship between this cylindrical face and this face. So to do this operation, I'm gonna go to mate, I'm gonna click on it, and I'm gonna select this face, and then I'm gonna select this face, and I'm gonna make it concentric. I'm clicking OK, and now I'm gonna make this face and this face coincident. I'm just gonna zoom out a bit so I can see a little better. So I'm gonna select this face, and I'm gonna rotate my model, and I'm gonna zoom out a bit so you can see it better. So I'm gonna click on this face, and I'm gonna make them coincident. So I have added this relationship. I can still I'm gonna get out of this mating dialog box to just show you the pin is still able to move because it's attached to that face. Okay. Now I'm gonna bring in the component, which are fastener pins, and I will have to repeat this a couple of times. And I'm gonna click on this fastener pin, and I can just drag it in here because this is shown. Again, I will remind you this pin is different than the hinge pin because hinge pin is longer than the fastener pin. So now I'm going to add this pin to this hole. So again, I'm going to add a mate. I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to select this cylindrical face, and I'm going to add a concentric relationship. And now I'm going to select this face. After clicking OK, I am going to select this face, and I'm going to add coincident relationship. So as you can see, the pin is installed. Now for the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add another pin there. You could repeat the same process for all the components with the hinge pin on this location, and this location on this side. So you will have 4 hinge sets installed. But however, in the SolidWorks, it provides you a lot of powerful tools so that you don't have to repeat the same procedure over and over again. The next pin that I'm going to add is I'm going to add it with the mates. How you do that? So basically to do that, you could select on the component that you want to copy. You can right click on it, and then basically you can look at this drop down menu. You can select copy with mates from there, Or you can simply go under this insert components, copy with mates from there, or insert component, copy with mates. It's same thing, same tool. You can access it many different ways. So I'm going to just click OK there, and this mouse appears. So basically, I have selected this component that I want to copy, and I'm going to click on this arrow next. In the next, it will just prompt where do you want to add uh, the mates. In there, you can zoom in and you can select the similar face that you want to add the concentric relationship. As you can see, the pen has appeared. Or for the next one, you can select this face, okay? Or you can simply click on this repeat, so it's gonna select the same face that it had done in the past. So this is done. So now I have added two pins. So this is complete for this hinge side. So now what I want to do is I want to take all these components that I have created and I want to copy the same mating relationships to these two holes. So how to do that? To do that, I gotta select all these components by clicking here or simply going to the feature manager. I have this hinge right there. If you press and hold down your shift key on your keyboard and then you click on the last component, so basically every single component is selected, and then you go to insert component and you click on copy with mates, and then you click next. And in here, it's basically going to ask you to provide the relationships where you want to add. So I'm going to move here. I'm going to select this hole. And for the second one, I'm going to basically say repeat. Oh, it is over defining it. And I'm going to unselect that. And I'm going to basically go select this face. So it won't give me that error. And the third one for coincident mate, I'm going to zoom out. I'm going to select this face. So as you can see, I have added the second hinge set. So I'm gonna click on this X so I can, oops, I should have not done it. I'm gonna repeat the process so you can see it one more time. I should have selected, clicked on the check mark. So I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna press shift key and I'm gonna select all the components again and I'm gonna go to insert, copy with mates, and I'm gonna click OK there. And then the first thing, as I said before, I'm gonna select this face. For the second concentric mate, I'm gonna select this face. For the third one, coincident mate, I'm gonna select this face. And then I'm gonna click OK. And I'm gonna now get out of it. So now you can see it says it shows the components are independent. I can rotate this one independently and I can rotate this one independently. Now you can go ahead and then add the entire these components on this side too. Just make sure that the appropriate hinges on the other side look the same. In this step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to copy the same components on the other side. I want to mirror the same components on this side. I'm going to show you a quick shortcut how to do that. So basically to do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all the components from the last step that I have copied. I'm going to start with this hinge A, and I'm going to press control key and I'm going to select all of them individually this time. So as you can see, I have selected these ones, and now what I'm going to do is I want to mirror this on this side. So to do that, you will go to this linear component pattern underneath there. If you select on this triangle, you can click on this mirror component. So it has copied all the mates and everything associated with those components, and it requires that I specify the mirror plane. So what I'm gonna do is, I know when I created the shell, I had a middle plane there. So I'm gonna use that. So I'm gonna expand my shell component and I'm gonna select this right plane, which is selected now, and I'm gonna click OK. So as you can see, I have mirrored that hinge on the other side. So one thing I want you to notice is if I move this, the other one moves as well because it's simply a mirror of that. So if I want this to be independent of that, what I have to do one extra step. I can select this is the mirror component feature that I just added. You can go right click on it and then you will go in this menu. Basically what you want to do is you want to no, control exit isolate. What I want to do is right click on there and I want to dissolve mirror components features and I'm gonna click yes. So in this case, basically what has happened is if I move this, it has removed the mates, but it is independent of that now. So now I can add my mates associated with these pins. So I'm gonna go to mate um, tool and I'm gonna select this pin and I'm gonna select this cylindrical face and I'm gonna make them concentric. I'm gonna click OK. For the second pin, I'm gonna select this face and I'm gonna select this face and I'm gonna make them concentric again. And then I'm gonna select this and I'm gonna select this face and I'm gonna make them coincident. So now this is done. If I move, I'm gonna just exit this. If I move this one, it's independent. They both are all independent now. Okay. So the only one step that is left is to add in here. So to do that, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the copy them over here with the one step. How I can do that? So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select hinge A11, this one, this one, this one, this one, and I'm gonna, so after selecting all these components, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to insert component and I'm gonna copy with mates. And I'm gonna click on this arrow button there and now I'm gonna select the components where I want to add my relationship. So here I'm gonna select this face and then for the second one I'm gonna select this component and the third one I'm gonna select this and see what happens. So click OK. So now I have created all of the mates that I needed and oops, I have just copied one extra mate there, so I'm just gonna get rid of that. So anyway, so my 4 components are there. Now I'm gonna insert the door, 2 doors that I need. So basically to insert the door, I'm gonna do is go to insert component. I'm gonna click on insert component and I'm gonna browse and in there I'm gonna bring in the door. So the first door is here. So what I'm gonna basically rotate it around by clicking on this rotate component and I'm gonna line it up so I can start adding the mates. So the first mate that I'm gonna add here is I'm gonna attach the door on this side. Okay, so I'm gonna exit this rotation tool in here. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna select this cylindrical face, and I'm gonna click on mate, and then I'm gonna select this face there, and I'm gonna make it concentric, but I'm gonna align it differently because I want this face to be going the other way, which I will do it in the next mate that I'm gonna add. I'm gonna click OK, and the second I'm gonna add is select this cylindrical face, and then I'm gonna select this cylindrical face, and I'm gonna make them concentric as well. And now the third mate that I'm gonna add is I'm gonna select this face, and I'm gonna select this face, and I'm gonna make them coincident, but I wanna realign it because I wanna reorient. So to do that, I'm gonna basically um, um, click on the alignment, which is under standard mates. It is right here. So I am gonna align it differently. Okay, so basically, as you can see, now my component is getting installed properly, and I'm gonna click OK. Okay, so this is done. For the purpose of this assembly, I should add a couple more mates. So I'm just gonna basically move this one over here, and I'm gonna select this face, this cylindrical face, and I'm gonna just rotate it so I can see the other side. So I'm gonna select this face, and I'm gonna make them concentric. I'm gonna click OK. Once I have done that, I'm gonna add another relationship in here. I'm gonna click on this face, and I'm gonna basically select this edge. I'm gonna make it coincident, and I'm gonna click OK. So my door is installed. So I'm just gonna check it out. Yes, it's fine. It's moving around pretty good. And now I'm gonna add is another door on the other side. To do that, I'm gonna copy with mate. I'm gonna right click on it, and I'm gonna look for copy with mates, and I'm gonna click on this arrow. So basically I'm gonna repeat the process concentric. I'm gonna select this face, and I'm gonna select for the second one this face, and for the coincident I'm gonna select this face. I'm just gonna double check if things are lining properly. It is. And for the next one, I'm gonna zoom out, and I'm gonna zoom in over here. I am just rotating my middle button on my mouse to align things. So I want to add a concentric mate there. I'm gonna select this one there, and then basically for coincident, I'm gonna select, oops, let's zoom out a bit. I'm gonna go and select similar edge that I had done on the other side, which is this edge, and I'm gonna click OK, and I'm gonna click on this. So my door is added. So now the assembly is more or less complete. So this is done there. And So after this step, the assembly is complete for your lab 2 exercise. Before doing anything, please ensure to save your full assembly, and this will complete the expected task in your lab 2. Um, One thing you would notice in here is if I rotate this component, for example, if I close this door, it is going through the cabinet shell. If I select this collision detection, and I can select the stop at collision, and then basically it will as I'm moving the component, it makes in contact with the next component, it basically detects that. So there is another way of controlling this by adding angular mate, which is advanced mate, which we will cover in your lab 3 exercise. Well, once again, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope this is helping you to complete lab exercises.